On the surface, Nara Smith seems like your typical social media influencer. Gentle, tender, elegant.
Just landed after a 10-hour flight, and the first thing my husband requests is a hot dog. So instead of running to the store, I just decided to make it myself.
But what if I told you that behind her soft-spoken persona lies something far more sinister? A movement that's creating a cult following of young women who are getting brainwashed into a mindset that could roll back decades of progress for our society.
A lot of people want me to make their dream man, which I unfortunately can't. Hey Harper's Bazaar, it's Nara Smith.
Hi, I'm Nara Smith.
I'm a full-time mom. I create content and I model.
What could possibly be harmful about a young mom who dotes on her family, cooking organic meals in her spotless kitchen while wearing perfectly coordinated outfits? To understand the danger and the appeal of Nara Smith's message, we first have to talk about the concept called Tradwife. A tradwife, or traditional wife, is a woman who embraces traditional gender roles, focusing exclusively on homemaking and raising children. In this lifestyle, the husband is the sole breadwinner, responsible for providing and protecting his family, while the wife manages domestic duties, cooking, cleaning, and in some cases, homeschooling the children. These roles mirror the 1950s gender expectations, where women were relegated to the home and men dominated the workforce and society at large. But that was over half a century ago. We've since entered a world where dual-income households are not just a norm, but in many cases, a necessity. Yet, despite this massive shift in social and economic dynamics, the tradwife movement has seen a resurgence on the internet, particularly in the past 5 years. Conservative influencers have latched onto this romanticized version of the past, presenting it as the ultimate solution for a happy and fulfilled life. But for a long time, conversations about tradwife were relegated to conservative spaces. Young women weren't buying into the ideals.
These tradwives on social media are going to be the end of y'all. They are selling you a life and a dream that they do not even live.
And the older women could clearly see through the facade.
The tradwife is glamorizing staying home and being a homemaker, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you talk about the fact that if your husband dies, you're screwed.
The content was consumed primarily by people who already liked or aspired to be tradwives themselves. Well, that was until Nara Smith.
TikTok's most popular tradwives, Nara Smith.
Nara Smith is the most famous housewife on TikTok.
Today, I'll be cooking like Nara Smith.
This influencer has set the internet on fire. Named Nara Smith. TikToker Nara Smith.
Meet Nara Smith. Nara Smith.
Nara Smith is a South African-born influencer who started gaining traction in 2023 for sharing videos of herself cooking.
My toddler stumbled into my room this morning and her first words were mama, jam, and bread. So that's exactly what I did.
But Nara doesn't just cook. She makes elaborate meals and other homemade items completely from scratch.
My husband never had specific food cravings, but today he wanted pitas and Mediterranean food. I told him that I'm just gonna make it from scratch. Let's make some lasagna from scratch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Today my toddlers wanted cereal for breakfast again, so I decided to make some Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Bagels and cream cheese.
Today is my husband and I's 4th wedding anniversary, so I decided to wake up super early and make some bagels and cream cheese from scratch.
Bubblegum, toothpaste, even sunscreen. Anything her husband or kids as much as craved, she would make from raw ingredients in her pantry. What made her even more appealing was that she did all of this without breaking a sweat, literally. She's always fully made up, wearing the prettiest dresses in the most luxurious looking kitchen, her soothing ASMR themed voice.
You know those nights where you just want a little snack before you go to bed?
Also makes it easy for anyone to enjoy her content. She really is a fantastic content creator, and that is what the tradwife movement was missing. Although tradwives like Estee Williams and Hannah Neeleman were popular before Nara Smith ever came into the scene, those people did not present a life that young women wanted to emulate. They weren't chic and soft-spoken. Their content wasn't effortless. The effortlessness of her content is what makes Nara the perfect influencer to recruit Gen Z tradwives, a generation so plagued by societal issues that they're constantly looking for whatever can give them a break from the pressure of real life. In just 7 months, her TikTok and Instagram following grew by a staggering 700%. Her rapid rise in popularity is no accident. Her content taps into a deep, subconscious yearning among many women for a simpler, more meaningful life, one that isn't getting sucked of value by capitalism. With over 10 million followers on TikTok and nearly 4 million on Instagram, you can tell this worked. She has become the epitome of an ideal homemaker for many young girls. Just scroll through her comment section on any platform and you'll see just how many young girls want to be like her. In a society where many young people feel they may never even afford to leave their parents' homes, let alone buy their own, selling them the dream that they can live a life of ease simply by returning to traditional gender roles is a fantasy they're more than willing to believe. It gives them hope in a seemingly hopeless situation. But what her followers do not see is the privilege that makes her lifestyle possible, the privilege that many people are never going to have. In every one of Nara Smith's videos, she appears immaculate. Her makeup is always perfect, her hair perfectly styled, and her home, especially her spotless white kitchen, is a beacon of cleanliness and order. Accompanied by a soothing piano melody, Nara's soft, ASMR-like voice describes her day-to-day activities, preparing elaborate meals, baking desserts, or whipping up a special dish from scratch, all while maintaining a calm and collected demeanor. It all seems so effortless, but this image is nothing more than a carefully curated fantasy. What Nara Smith doesn't show her audience is the behind-the-scenes reality that makes her lifestyle possible, which is the fact that you can only do this if you're very rich. Like many of her fellow tradwives on social media, Nara Smith comes from a background of wealth, though this is something she never addresses. For instance, another popular tradwife influencer, Hannah Neeleman, popularly known as Ballerina Farm on TikTok, lives on a 328-acre farm in Utah with her husband and their 8 children. Hannah is friends with Nara Smith and also regularly shares videos of herself making food from scratch, raising animals, and homeschooling her children.
We need just 1/4, so don't fill that all the way up.
All while appearing perfectly put together. But what her audience doesn't see is the immense wealth that enables her lifestyle. Hannah is married to Daniel Neeleman, son of multimillionaire David Neeleman, the founder of several airlines, including JetBlue and Breeze Airways.
It's incredible. I mean, I left Salt Lake 20 years ago to start JetBlue, and bringing my new airline back here because of all the technology.
With such vast financial resources at her disposal, it's no wonder she can dedicate her time to creating content about her simple life. It's reasonable to assume that Nara Smith's circumstances are similar. After all, which mother of 3 under 3 has the time to apply flawless makeup, select an outfit, set up a camera, and film herself making breakfast from scratch, all before getting her children ready for the day? The answer is clear: only someone with significant financial support, a highly involved partner, and possibly an entire team of domestic help. What Nara's young followers don't realize is that the life she portrays is out of reach for most women. The tradwife lifestyle, as presented by influencers like Nara, is a distortion of reality, an unattainable ideal designed to inspire envy and aspiration. They want you to crave the tradwife ideal without telling you what it really takes to be one comfortably. For many young, impressionable women, at first glance, Nara's lifestyle seems like a dream come true. She does have it all: a loving husband, beautiful children, a luxurious home, and the time to devote herself entirely to her family without the burden of a job. But this portrayal is misleading, and dangerously so. What Nara and her fellow tradwife influencers fail to acknowledge is the immense privilege that allows them to live this way. The majority of women do not have the financial resources or social support necessary to live a life of luxury without working. Instead, they are left feeling inadequate, ashamed that they can't meet the same standards of homemaking perfection. They begin to internalize the idea that their value lies in their ability to serve their husbands, rather than in their own professional, creative, or intellectual pursuits. This is where the real harm begins. Social media plays a significant role in amplifying this message. The more a young woman interacts with tradwife content, the more of it she will see in her feed. Instagram and TikTok algorithms are designed to serve users the content they engage with the most, creating an echo chamber where the idealized version of the tradwife lifestyle is constantly reinforced. Over time, these young women begin to believe that this is the only way to achieve true happiness and fulfillment in the world. The algorithm is the invisible hand that pushes these women deeper into the tradwife ideology. Every like, every comment, and every saved post signals to social media platforms that this content is resonating. The algorithms respond by delivering even more of it, and so the brainwashing deepens. Before before they know it, young women are trapped in a cult, convinced that their self-worth depends on how closely they can align themselves with the Tradwife ideal. But what they don't see are the hidden struggles, the exhaustion, the emotional toll, and the limitations of a life spent entirely in service of others. These influencers never show the downsides of their lifestyles, presenting instead a sanitized, glamorized version of reality. The Tradwife movement isn't just an innocent choice for a select few. It represents a direct challenge to the progress women have made over the last century. Feminism didn't arise in a vacuum. It emerged out of necessity. For centuries, women were confined to domestic roles, their ambitions limited by societal expectations. They were denied access to education, to the workforce, to political participation. Feminism was the fight to break those chains, to give women the freedom to pursue their dreams and participate fully in society. Yet here we are, watching as young women voluntarily give up those hard-won freedoms in favor of a life of perceived luxury. They are falling in love with an idealized version of the past, unaware of the true cost of the lifestyle they are romanticizing. It is a return to the very constraints that feminism sought to abolish, a life defined by servitude and dependence. Now you might think, why am I, a man, so bothered by this? Well, it's not just women who are affected by this movement. You know what goes hand in hand with a Tradwife? A trad husband. The Tradwife ideal places an insane amount of burden on men as well. In a world where there's economic instability and many people can't even afford to live, putting the expectation on young men to be the sole providers for their families is extremely unrealistic and downright unattainable for most of the population. I was talking to my young cousin a few weeks ago, and he told me how his girlfriend broke up with him because he couldn't afford to get her the new iPhone for her birthday. They're both 16. He was very sad because it was his first relationship. I told him to wipe his tears and paid for his gym subscription. But that is the reality of the world we live in, where young girls expect the men to pay for everything, while all they have to do is look pretty for the gram. The idea that men must carry the full weight of financial responsibility while their wives stay home is a relic of a time when the economy was more prosperous and our society was structured very differently. Men are dying by suicide at a faster rate than we've ever seen before, and the biggest problem is lack of resources. We are being set up to fail under the weight of these outdated gender roles. Depression, anxiety, and burnout among men are rising at alarming rates, and the pressure to meet these impossible standards is making the problem much, much worse. The Tradwife fantasy ignores the fact that modern life is not built for single-income households, especially in today's volatile economic climate. So how do we combat this slow creeping regression? The first step is to recognize that what we see on social media is rarely the whole truth. The perfect lives we see on Instagram and TikTok are curated, edited, and filtered to present an idealized version of reality. Nara Smith's life may look flawless, but behind the scenes, it's likely far more complicated than she lets on. Young women need to be taught to think critically about the content they consume. They must learn to recognize privilege when they see it, and understand that the Tradwife lifestyle is not as idyllic as it appears. It's also important to remember that feminism is about choice. Women should have the freedom to choose the life they want, but that choice should be informed and free from manipulation or brainwashing by influencers. It's not wrong to be entertained by beautiful content or to admire women who excel at homemaking, but it's crucial to separate reality from fantasy. The Tradwife lifestyle may work for some, but it is not the only path to happiness, and it certainly isn't attainable for everyone. Women should be encouraged to explore all their options and to live life on their own terms, not those dictated by an influencer on social media. This is your life. Live it on your terms and your terms alone.